Welcome to Code Jogging. If today is your first time watching our video, please kindly subscribe to our channel, and also there is a Telegram link at the comment section or the description. Please kindly join the Telegram channel so that anytime we upload a new video, we will notify you and you will never miss any of our video. Thank you very much. In our previous video, we looked at how to add Tailwind to our project, where we visited the Tailwind platform website and then also looked at the various ways we can add Tailwind to our project. Today, we are going to continue from there, and also I'll be showing you some of the platform you can also get Tailwind templates so that when you are building your project, you can move faster. It's not everything that you need to code from scratch. Someone has already done it. You just go, you grab it, and then as far as it's an open source, you can edit it in order to suit how you want your project to look like. So what we are going to do now is to create a login form and also a registration form using Tailwind. Okay, but this one we are going to do this from scratch, and when we are done, we also look at the Tailwind platform that we can get a template from and then add it to our project. And as I've said, that we are not going to stress ourselves to learn the long way in order to achieve our goal. No, I'm going to show you the shortcut ways. So instead of looking at the component in Tailwind, I'll be using the login and the registration to explain the components in Tailwind. Okay, so in case you have any questions along the line, you can leave it at the comment section and I'll respond to you as soon as possible. So now let's get started. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to delete this code. Okay, so now let's refresh our page. We don't have anything here. Okay, so now let's write normal HTML. Okay, so let's make this one form, this one to form. Let's close it, make it form, and then we are going to add our input tag, give it type test, and then we are going to give it a name, username. We are going to do the same thing for this. In the type, we are going to make it password. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to add a button to it. Okay, so now let's make it login, and here we are going to add a heading here, log into your account. Okay, so now this is a simple HTML with no Tailwind applied to it. So let's run our page, and then we have it here. Okay, so now what we are going to do is to add, okay, let me remove the Tailwind here for you to see the HTML I'm talking about. Yes, so now this is the HTML that we have. Okay, so now let's add the CSS, the Tailwind back. So now let's apply the Tailwind to it. Now the logic here is to make the login to your account as a header. So definitely it's going to have some of the heading tags, or the heading the heading tags, so like h1, h2, and then to h6 or h5. So what we are going to do is we are going to add a class. Okay, then we change the font to black, making it bold. Then so when we want to bold our text, we can go to Tailwind and then search for the font property. So let's search for this one. That's the font property here. That's the width. So we have thin, hairline, extra light, light, normal, medium, and then the rest. Okay, and then you can also add your custom um, number to it, that's your custom font weight to it. In case from 100 to 900 is not part, you can still add extra numbers to it. Okay, so this is how you can add it to your project. So these are the class and then the properties, how it's been explained. Okay, so now we are using this one, so we are using black, meaning that we have font weight 100. Okay, so now we are going to add the font size. So in Tailwind, the font size is the text hyphen, okay, and then the font size that we want to add. So we have from X, let me search for it here for you to see font size. Okay, so we have the XX to X9, and you can also add your custom font size in pixels to it in case how big or how huge you want your font size looks like it's not part of the list. Okay, so now what we are going to do here is to look at how we can apply it to our project. So he's saying that you control the size of an element using text and then the size. So the size here, they are referring to this from XX to 9XL. Okay, and also we can add our custom font size in pixels where we can use square brackets. Yes, so instead of using the predefined font sizes here, we can ignore those font sizes and then add our own font size in pixels. And also we can do it in the configuration file, though we've not done how to configure Tailwind in our project. We will do it in maybe one of our videos. Okay, so now let's stick to this side. So we can use this custom or we can use this one, and I prefer using this one. Okay, so now let's use X5XL. Okay, so and then we can use margin button, let's use margin top and down. Let's give it 5. So let's search for margin here. So let's search for margin. Yes, so this is the margin. Okay, and margin, we are talking about the normal CSS margin. We are talking about the space, the inner space between the starting point of the container and then the data in it. Okay, so for example, this one, we are just talking about the space between this div and then the text inside it. So that's the that's the padding. Okay, and then the margin is the inner space between this form and then this div, and also between this div and then this input. Okay, so for example, if you're adding the margin to be, let's say 5, we can use this scenario to achieve that. Let's say this 1 2 3, so it means that let's say we've applied margin to this div and then this div. Since you are using y, it means that we've added another equal margin to this. But please, this one does not mean that when you run the code, it will run, or this one is going to reflect on your browser. No, I'm just using this scenario for you to see how margin works. But assuming we are supposed to use the pattern, that's what I've said earlier. That one means we have to switch the M to P. That one means we are going to use this one. We are not focusing on the space on top of the div that you are working on and below the div you are working, but we are looking at the data or the element inside that particular div. So like this one, so this one, the pattern will be like this, and then it will be like that. So please know when and how to use the margin and the pattern when you are designing your interface. So now let's get back to the Tailwind. So now we've talked about 3 properties here, that the font weight, font size, and then the pattern. So let's refresh our page. Okay, so now this is what we've achieved. Okay, so with these 3 properties, we've been able to achieve this. So in case we want to also increase our font size, we can do this. Yes, so log into your account. We've increased the font size using the um, font property that Tailwind has already provided. So font size. Okay, so I used 9. So yeah, so it means that 128 pixels. Okay, so we can also use our custom font size and pixels. Let's say we can give it 300 pixels. That's the custom font size you want to use. So let's go to our project and then refresh it. Now you can see that our font size has become huge. Okay, so this is how you can use a custom font in your project. So now let's go back to the 5. That's what we want to use. Let's see. No, 5 pixel, sorry. Yes. And now let's go to the text field. So the text field, we can see that there's nothing showing here, but it still exists. You can click inside here. Okay, so we can add our class. First, let's look at our border. So our border, then we add our color to it, border color. I will explain the border properties soon. So border color, let's add black. Okay, let's refresh our page. Yes. So now we add our border color black. So let's copy the code and then add the same thing to this. Okay, so now this is what we've done so far. Okay, so now we've been able to add border color to our code. So let's check Tailwind and then search for border. Okay, so you can search from this one. That's the first one is the border, and the border size is here. So we I used to, it means that the border width is 2. Okay, and then default border, but border width is what 1. So we can make it this. You can remove the border width. And then let's run our code. Now you can see that this one is much thicker than this one. Okay, so let's do the same thing for this guy. Okay, yes. And now what we are going to do is to um, add our custom button to this. This one is a button. Now you can see from our address, but when you click on it, it's using the get. Okay, the get method. So when you click on it, you see that it triggers the get request. So let's add our class to it. Okay, and then this one we are going to use background red and then 50. Okay, so this is what we've done. Let's search for background on Tailwind. Okay, so background color. Okay, so this is how we use background color in Tailwind. So these are the predefined colors in Tailwind that you can use. So we're using red. So let's search for red. Let's search for red. Maybe it might not be showing here, but we have color properties that Tailwind has. I believe we can find it somewhere. Color templates, custom styles. Yes, we can find it here. So this is what we are using. Red, and then we use 500. So we are using this color for our button. Okay. So we are using this color. So you don't need to keep all the colors in your head. Anytime you want to use a color, you can come here and then click on, go to the customization, click on color, and then you can click on the color that you want to use. Then give you the copy code. Okay. So if you want to use it in your inline code here, then you have to reference it with a number. So red, we are using 500. We can switch it to red 700, and let's see what will happen. So let's go back to our code. Please watch carefully. Now you see we've gotten a deep red color. Okay, so now what we are going to do is, as I've said earlier, we have to use the padding here, padding X. Let's make it 6. And then let's make the padding Y, let's make it 3. Let's refresh our code again. Yes, now we made the button little bigger. So let's check where we were using the padding. So we have padding. Yes, so this is what I used, padding X, padding X6. So let's check the padding X6 in pixels. So this is what we used, the padding X6. It means the padding left, that's 24 pixels, and then padding right, that's 24 pixels here. Okay, so we can also decide to use there's a padding L, that's PL, and then PR6. Okay, so you will achieve the same thing. The same thing for, so if you know that you are going to use the same pattern for the left and right, then you don't need to stress yourself to type PL6, PR6. We can rather use PX, which gives us the left and right. And the same thing applies to the pattern top and bottom. If you know that you are going to use the same pattern for the top and then the bottom, then you don't need to use PT and then PB. That's 3. And when we refresh our page, we get the same thing. Okay, so for us not to waste our time, you can represent it by PY, which gives us both top and then button. So now the next step you are going to do is the test color. For us to add a test color to a button, we have to call the test properties, and then which one are we using? We are using the color, and for this one we are using white. And please take note, anytime you want to use a test color in anytime you want to use a color in your Tailwind project, you should make sure that if you're using the red, and apart from black and then white, the others you have to call the color name, and then you add its opacity or the transparency to it, which start from 100 or 50. Yeah, it starts from 50 to 900. Okay, so if assuming that this one I want to change the color to, let's say, green, it's now we've typed green here hyphen 100. Now you can see that we are having, so for us to see that it's green, let's change it to 600 for you to see. Yes, now you can see that it's green. Okay, so that's how we can add it to our project. So now what we are going to do next is, let's change this one to white. Okay, yes, and now we are going to add something called um, border radius. Border radius means that we are going to make this one the edges look circle or circular way. So let's search for border radius. So let's add it first. So here, border radius, we type radius and then hyphen. You can leave it like this, it will work, but it will just make the only the edges little rounded. So let's search for it and then see the other properties we can add to the radius. So border radius. Okay, so now this is the border radius, starting from the none to the let's say full. So, and these are the things you can achieve. So if you use the full, that means that you are turning the whole thing into circle. It will be circle if it has a square size. Okay, if you have a rectangular size, it won't be circle. Okay, so only the edges. Okay, it means that the left side and then the right side will look like a circle, but because it's a rectangular shape, the top and the bottom or the height won't be circle, but only the width side will be the circular button. So now let's refresh our page. Now you can see that we've turned, let's remove it here, let me add none. So okay, you can see that we are having square shape here. Okay, this one is a rectangular shape because the padding width and height are not the same. So this one is a rectangular shape. So we can see that we are having um, a square edges here. So we are going to change it to rounded. Now you can see that we have rounded. So, but if you want to use it like building in advanced version, you can use something like this. Okay, we can use something like this. So now what we are going to do is we are going to add a label. That's the placeholder. This one is enter password, and then this one to placeholder enter username. Okay, but now what we want to achieve is we don't want our forms look like this, like in a horizontal way. We want it to look like a vertical way. This one brings us to another property called flex. Default, if you use flex just allows you to show your data in a horizontal way, but we can state whether we want to use the um, flex um, in column or in rows. Default is in the row form. Okay, and we have another properties inside flex that we can also use. So let's use the flex. So this is the flex. Okay, so utilities for controlling how flex items both grow and then string. Okay, so let's use the flex first. So we are going to use the flex here, class flex. Let's give it the width full. Okay, so let's search for width here. Then we will come back to our flex. Okay, so this is the width that we have, and we use width full. It means that width 100%. Okay, so now let's refresh it. This is what we got. So we are going to add flex the column. It means that we are arranging our items here vertically. Okay, yes. Okay, and you can see that it has reset everything to 100%. Yes, this is what we want. So for us not to stress ourselves, we are going to wrap the form with this. Let's wrap our form with another class. Then we are going to use the width container, the width size container. Let me see if I can find the container width here. So let's search for container. Okay, so this is the container that we are talking about. So container gives you none, so it listens to the screen changes. Okay, so we are going to use this one, then we want to center it. So let's type, so we are going to have container here. Okay, and then let's refresh our page. Yes, so now you can see that we've given the container size here. So let's switch to the mobile view. Yes, and it's the container just listens to the screen size. So we are having that if you are having the small size, you can have 60 pixels. As you can see, it ranges from this. So now we can also add margin X10 so that when we switch to the mobile view, at least we get some small spaces here. Okay, so we can now we should remove this one, then wrap it with. Okay, what we are trying to do is when I use the width 100% and I added margin to it, now you can see that the user needs to scroll left and right before they can see the full page. We don't want something like that to happen. In case you find yourself in that situation, the solution you can do here is to create another div, okay, and then give that div the margin that you wanted to use. Okay, so this is how you have to do it, and then you save it. And now you can see, let's reduce to 5. Yes, okay, So now you can see that we have spaces, okay, at the end of our container. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to provide a space. Okay, so we are going to provide a space here. So the space we are going to provide it here is going to be this, but we want the space to be equal. So how can we do that? Fine, this is how we are going to do it. With the flex here, we can add space, then the y, because we are targeting only the vertical spaces. So we want the same space between the enter username tag or input tag, the same space between enter password, and then the same space between the button. So we use the space y, then we state. Okay, so let's check how we can use the space y in our project. So we search for space. Okay, so space between. So let's search for space between. So this is how space between is. So space between, utilities for controlling the space between child elements. Yes. So if you are targeting the horizontal way, then we use the X. Okay, that's the margin. And one thing is, it always tries not to apply to the first element. Okay, so instead of moving the first element, maybe giving a space between the beginning of the container and then the first element inside it, it rather ignores the first element and then applies to the rest. And it also ignores the last element. So it's advisable to use spaces. Okay, space between in your coding if you want to give the same spaces. Because this one you have to write margin top down, margin top bottom, margin top bottom. No, we can use this space to save ourselves a lot of time here. Yes, so now you can see now we are not having the same space here because we were having this padding here. Yes, now you can see that we are having the same space here. Okay, so now the next step we are going to look at it is let's see how, let's add a small padding to our test field. Let's say padding 1, and then we are going to have another padding 1. Okay, that's good. And then let's add X. So this is how you should design your interface using Tailwind. You always take it one step at a time. Okay, so now we've done it. Okay, so this brings us to the end of part 1 video of designing login and login UI in Tailwind. Please watch the video again. We are building everything from scratch. Okay, and at the end we are going to have a fancy UI for our login system, and I believe you will like it. In case you have any comments, please leave it at the comment section, and if you've not subscribed to our page or our channel, please click on the subscribe button. And we have also provided Telegram channel link at the channel description section, and also we will add it to this video description. Please kindly click on it and join our Telegram channel, and anytime we upload any video, we will notify you so that we all be on the same page. If you have any suggestions that can help us to make this channel better, please kindly leave us a mail. Okay, and once we receive it, we work on it as soon as possible. Thanks for watching this video. See you in our next video. Bye bye.